How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Piston Show. I'm Keshi Dillon. If you're coming to this channel for the first time, do consider subscribing because we are always bringing you reviews of some of the latest cars in the market. And we also love to do comparisons to help you make an informed purchase decision. If you're coming back here for multiple times already, thank you for all your support. Do leave a comment on our videos so we can continue to improve. Anyway, today is a very exciting day because I'm driving the Jaecoo J7. Now you might be thinking that I probably lost my mind because the Jaecoo J7 has been in the Malaysian market for a while already. But this is not your regular J7, boys and girls. This is the plug-in hybrid. So that means that this model is very, very new in the Malaysian market. So new, in fact, that I'm only the second person to drive this car. And when I picked it up, it just had about 80 kilometers done on the odometer, and I've been driving it here and there, and it's got about 143 kilometers. And you can probably tell that it hasn't even been through its first service as yet. So it's still nice and tight, I guess. So in one thing that the Jaecoo J7 plug-in hybrid is that it answers a very big question that a lot of naysayers have at the back of their minds when it comes to EVs, including myself. So one of the things about EVs is that they are quite inconvenient in the sense that you're always looking out for the range, the battery percentage as well as the range left. And particularly more so when you don't have a charger at home. So the Jaecoo J7, being a plug-in hybrid, has an internal combustion engine up ahead as well as an electric motor. Now the J7 PHEV is also very unique in the sense that it can take AC as well as DC charging. How cool is that? Now, a lot of plug-in hybrids in the market, such as the Volvo XC90, the Mercedes S580e and such, also are plug-in hybrids, but they cannot handle DC charging. So that's what sets the Jaecoo J7 plug-in hybrid apart, because it is able to take 40 kilowatts of DC charging. That means if you're running out of juice on your battery and you don't want to be bothered to use the petrol in your engine to power up the engine, all you got to do is perhaps look for a charger and charge up the battery, and you can go about your business perhaps roughly for about a week or so, I'll talk about that shortly, without actually using the petrol for your engine. Now you might be thinking, how far will the battery take me? It's not a very big battery, but the range, the official figures are roughly about 88 kilometers, okay, which you might think is not very far, but the real world figures are quite astonishing, because I've read that the J7 plug-in hybrid is capable of traveling up to 130 kilometers on electric power alone, which is brilliant. And if you're the type that does not travel very far in a day, then this just might be the car for you when it comes to efficiency. And I just glanced at this and I still cannot believe it. So I remember I was telling you I picked up this car at 80 kilometers on the odo, and now I'm at 145, close to 150. So when I picked up this car from Jaecoo yesterday. I had a range of 1,045 kilometers. Right now, after all that driving, I have a range of 1,044 kilometers. What the F, man? This is probably the final word when it comes to efficiency. The Jaecoo J7, final word when it comes to efficiency. This is fantastic. So, how is it like as a car? How does it feel to drive, you might ask? Simply said, it drives just like the petrol sibling of the Jaecoo J7. It's very refined, the suspension is brilliant, and I've driven the not the previous generation, but the sibling, the petrol-powered J7, and I actually quite like the refinement of the car. In fact, if you remember, if you've been following this channel, I had a lot to say about the refinement of the car. And yes, you still get double glazed windows, the suspension is still nice and supple, the interior nice and quiet. All in all, is just brilliant. And you still get that with a plug-in hybrid as well. But because this has a battery and an electric motor and an engine up ahead, it's capable of some astonishing power, bro. So you get over about 347 PS and over 500 Newton meters of torque. Just for comparison's sake, the petrol-powered sibling is powered by a 1.6 litre engine. This is powered by a 1.5, so completely different engine. So the petrol-powered J7 produces about 197 PS and about 240 or 260 Newton meters of torque. That is how much power the J7 plug-in hybrid actually has to offer. So it's just a ridiculous amount of power, but unlike the previous, the petrol, I just need to stop saying previous, man. Stop it, Keshi. So unlike the previous model, unlike the petrol model, the plug-in hybrid only comes in two-wheel drive form. So there's no four-wheel drive format for this model. Let me just double check on the power figures again. Yes, 347 PS and 525 Newton meters of torque for this current model, and 197 PS and 290 Newton meters of torque on the petrol-powered model. However, this is only available in two-wheel drive form. It's not available in an all-wheel drive form like the petrol sibling. So that just means that it's quite easy to light up the front wheels. So yesterday, in fact every day, it's been raining and raining and raining. I mean, nice weather. I like it when it rains. It's nice and cool and all. It's sort of like stay at home, cuddle kind of weather. I like that. But the thing about having so much power at the front wheels in this kind of weather is that when you floor it, or when you just need to accelerate just a little bit, the wheels light up. This, and so traction is minimal. But besides that, I think the focus of the J7 plug-in hybrid is efficiency, and it does that very, very well. So I'm still having a range of 1,043 km, but a couple of months ago, Jaecoo invited some members of the media, not us, to fly to China to try out this car before its local introduction. And that group that went to China actually they managed to do over 1,300 kilometers with the J7 plug-in hybrid. And again, that just means that this car is capable of some astonishing efficiency. And you can do all of that without actually sacrificing on your time, just to charge this car. You don't have to be bothered about installing a home charger. You don't have to worry about all of that. If you see a charger somewhere, just plug it in lah. It's capable of taking 40 kilowatts of DC charging anyway. And if you have an AC charger, if you see an AC charger, unfortunately it only takes about 6.6 kilowatts of AC charging, but it's still good enough. All you need is about 20 to 30%, and it's good enough to actually for you to rely on the battery rather than the engine. And you might be wondering what happens when the battery is completely depleted. Well, when the battery is completely depleted, you use the engine lah, right? And that's the beauty about the J7 plug-in hybrid. You have the engine has a backup. And the engine is also capable of charging the batteries up to about 20 or 30%. It won't take it up to 100%. I know the Volvos and the Mercedes-Benzes, I know they'll take the battery level SOC, state of charge, back up to 100%, but not here in the Jaecoo. It'll take it up to 20 or 30%, after which the system will switch over to battery to maximize efficiency. Fantastic. Brilliant, if you ask me. It's just like an answer to a question that a lot of people were asking. And I like that. I like having this kind of efficiency without having to sacrifice on your time and being a general pain in the back. So for me, the Jaecoo J7 plug-in hybrid is probably the best model. Arguably, let me think about this. I would argue that the Jaecoo J7 plug-in hybrid is not only the most efficient Chinese car in the market, it's probably the Chinese branded car to have if you want something that is nice to drive and yet efficient at the same time. Talking about nice to drive, it is definitely a very nice car to drive. 130, 140 faster. Oh, you know what? F it, let's try. Yeah, that's the overspeed indicator. Some very illegal speeds. These speeds will get my license confiscated. These speeds will get me in jail. So, wow. And if you've noticed, I haven't actually increased the tone of my voice. And that's the level of refinement that the Jaecoo J7 plug-in hybrid has to offer. Sure, it's not as quiet as it was when I was doing 100, but now, I don't want to mention the speed lah, silly or what. So, even then, refinement is fantastic, and the suspension of the J7 plug-in hybrid is somehow feels a little bit softer than the petrol-powered model, which is not really a bad thing because this model has a motor, has a battery pack, and has all the associated cables and such. So which means that this is a heavier car. So a heavier car probably needs a different suspension tuning lah. And that's okay, because what that has resulted in is a very comfortable car. Of course, it wallows a little bit, you feel it, but that's typical of Chinese cars lah. So for me, it's acceptable. Comfort is there, refinement is there, efficiency is there. You get all the conveniences of the Jaecoo J7 plus the good looks. However, there are a couple of differences, and in this video right now I'm going to show you what those differences are, particularly from the interior. I'll take you for a walk around the outside as well. Let's go. So this is the interior of the Jaecoo J7 plug-in hybrid, and even though it looks somewhat the same, the devil, my friends, is in the details, because once you start looking past the obvious, you start seeing some of the minute details, such as the lack of a gear knob. So in the petrol version, the gear knob is one big chunky thing over here, and then you have a rotating dial over here which lets you select either the 7 drive modes if you have the all-wheel drive version, or the 3 in the two-wheel drive version. But here you get none of that. Instead, you get these charge pads over here, you get these cup holders, and you get these 6 buttons over here. This lets you select your drive modes. You get 3 drive modes. You get Eco, Normal and Sport. And this lets you select, this is your air conditioning controls that let you put it on auto mode. And then, let me just turn this down. And then this is your door unlock or lock, and this is your hazard switch. And these 2 buttons are quite unique because if you press this, it will only drive in full EV mode. And if you press this, it will, well, switch between engine and the motor. So that is a simple explanation of what is different over here. And besides that, you'll notice that the door somewhat looks different as well, particularly this door panel over here. So the Jaecoo J7 was designed together with the team from Land Rover, and that is why you have some very unique design elements in the J7, which in all honesty makes it look very, very good. And one of the key elements over here in the petrol powered model was a very chunky doorknob. You had that massive C design over here, and it looked really good. I'm not complaining, but it does look good over here as well. It's very simplistic and such. And if you didn't notice it, or if you don't have a Jaecoo, you probably would have missed out on this detail. But the other update over here are the window switches, which is a source of a headache for me. And if you've been watching some of my videos from if I'm not mistaken, it started with the Leapmotor C10. One thing that I really don't like about these window switches is that if I want the window to go down, I have to push the switch up, so it's in reverse. And if I want the window to go up, I have to push the window down. So when I first published my irritation about this switch on the Leapmotor C10 video, and then later with the Xpeng and then the Proton EMA 7, a lot of you were like, Kashi, what are you complaining about? It's no big deal. Right? Yes, it's a big deal. Come on. You want the window to go down, you press down lah. You want the window to go up, you press up. It's as simple as that. There was one guy that started talking about aeronautics and such, that if you push the, I don't even know what you call it, man. Whatever lah. Anyway, that's a irritating part for me. But besides that, the interior of the Jaecoo J7 plug-in hybrid is somewhat the same. And just in case you're wondering where the hell the gear lever went, it's right here at the side in typical EV fashion. Other than that, it's still a very nice interior. You get the same comfortable seats, you get the same 8-speaker Sony sound system, you get a very nice interior, simply said. And interestingly, I just came out of the Chery Omoda E5 yesterday, and I see a lot of the same thought process that was in the E5 is in the Jaecoo J7 plug-in hybrid as well, such as these buttons over here, selecting your drive modes from the screen over here, the placement of this gear knob, which is again not really a Chery kind of thing, but I can see the similarities between both models. And yes, you still get this massive screen over here that totally dominates the interior. Now though, the rest of the car is still the same. I shall take you for a walk and show you a couple of things that you need to be aware of. Let's go. So before we walk around the car, I would just like to point out that in the petrol-powered version, the electronic parking brake is located somewhere over here. But now in the plug-in hybrid model, the electronic parking brake has been omitted. Previously you push or pull it right from here, but now the electronic parking brake has been moved, and now electronic parking brake is not in the form of a button, but it's located right here in this pull down menu. This is your EPB, your electronic parking brake, right over here. And since we are here, I would also like to point out that everything else, such as your central locking, everything, your mirror folding, everything is done through this screen. And if you notice over here, there's just controls for the windows. So you might be wondering, how the hell do you adjust the side mirrors, right? Well, to adjust the side mirrors, my friends, you have to do this. You come here, you press the star button, and then from here, if you notice, it tells you to use these left arrow buttons over here to adjust the left screen, and the right arrow buttons over here to adjust the right screen. And once you're done, you simply press this star button again, and you go about your business again. And these go back to their original functionality of adjusting the audio controls and this to navigate the menu and such. The overall design of the Jaecoo J7 has not changed by much. So it takes a very keen eye to sort of differentiate the plug-in hybrid from the petrol version. But one of the key giveaways is the mirrors. So the the petrol version has a squarish mirror that is very Land Rover-like, right? And this has a sleeker side mirror. And besides that, you also get dual tone paint job. That is something that, if I'm not mistaken, you don't get in the petrol-powered model as well. But one of the key giveaways is obviously you get two flaps over here, one on the right side. If you're facing the car, it's on your left side. This is for your CCS2 charging ports over here. Brilliant, if you ask me. Well done, Jaecoo. And so these are for your charging ports. And then again, if you're facing the car, that is on the left. Then you have the petrol flap on your right hand side. And then from the back, it's just somewhat the same. Obviously, you don't get any. What do you? That's the exhaust. That's the exhaust. There it is, right underneath there. So very neatly tucked away. So that gives it a very EV-like design at the back. So very clean, very aerodynamic design. Of course, you get the plug-in hybrid emblem over here as well. Now, I want to show you something that sort of breaks my heart, because the one thing that I really liked about the Jaecoo J7 petrol version was the fact that it came with a full-sized spare wheel. But that's something that unfortunately you do not get with the plug-in hybrid version. It's not all that surprising, to be honest, because you do need the space for the batteries. So something always has to give, my friends. And unfortunately, in this situation, Jaecoo had to remove the spare wheel to make space for the battery. Unfortunate, but a necessary evil. Totally understand. And this is the flap for the petrol cap. And the wheels, as I was mentioning, are totally different. They look very EV-like in their design right now. And then from the front, it's same old, same old. From the front, you really cannot distinguish this over the petrol version. So there are more details, which I'll get to right after this break. So when Jaecoo Malaysia first introduced the J7, the petrol version I'm talking about, earlier in 2024, they were very keen to show off the off-roading capability of the car. And yes, I drove it as well, and I'm sort of convinced that it can go perhaps light off-roading. I don't know anybody that wants to take their Jaecoo J7 off-roading, but if they wanted to, they can. And one of the key highlights from back then was the water wading capability of the J7 all-wheel drive, which could do about 600 millimeters of water, had a 600 millimeter water wading depth capability, all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive version. But the plug-in hybrid version now has a water wading depth capability of 450 millimeters. That's a full 150 millimeters down from the petrol version. And that's because right underneath here, you can see the battery pack protruding just underneath here. And if you just step behind, you can see it from quite far. And it's actually quite jarring because it makes you go like, what in the world is that? And then you sort of realize that that's actually the battery pack of the J7 plug-in hybrid. And from here you can see it's actually quite large. And if you're thinking that this might affect the road going capabilities of the car, and you might think that, you know, this will just sort of scrape over any bumps and such and might affect, and you will definitely have to slow down to go over every speed bump. Well, you'll be happy to know that this battery has been strengthened using 3 different layers of something called a battery armor. So even though it looks like that, it's actually quite strong. So the biggest update to the Jaecoo J7 plug-in hybrid is obviously the power plant. And this is how it looks like. It looks very, very complicated, but then again, hybrids usually are. Underneath here, or rather this is a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. This is a TGDI engine. It's the 5th generation model of this particular unit, which means that it powers other models in the Cherry, well, armada of models as well. This, as I've already mentioned, produces 347 PS and 525 Newton meters of torque. But even though the numbers suggest that this is a serious performance power plant, it does the 0 to 100 in over 8 seconds. Now this, as I've already mentioned, is a power plant that is designed for efficiency. Now, a lot of these cables and such are designed for cooling, are designed to transfer power between the 18 kilowatt hour battery as well as the 1.5 litre engine. So there's a lot of intricate details going on over here, but then again, with efficiency rated at over 1,300 kilometers, and this power plant has been rated as one of the most thermally efficient power plant in its class, well, I would expect it to look like this. It's actually a very capable power plant. So the big question now is, how much does it cost? Well, the car has not been officially launched as yet, so everything is just speculation. Some say over 170 grand and some say below 170 grand. I, to be honest, have no idea. What I do expect though is for Jaecoo to again offer its brilliant warranty package that is rated at over 1 million kilometers on the power plant and such. It'll be interesting to see what Jaecoo Malaysia has to offer in terms of pricing as well as warranty. One thing I know for sure though, this is one of the most efficient, fuel efficient cars currently in the market. Thank you for watching guys. As usual, do consider subscribing.